Okay, so you're renting, right? It's awesome. But let's be real, you can't just start knocking down walls or messing with the plumbing. But what about your water? If you want cleaner, healthier drinking water, but you're stuck with whatever pipes are in the building, what are you supposed to do? Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. A renter's guide to getting amazing water without making a single permanent change. And that brings us to the big question. What's really in your tap water? Seriously, it's a question we should all be asking. I mean, you turn on the tap, the water looks perfectly clear, right? But the thing is, city water systems, especially in older apartment buildings, can have a whole host of, let's call them uninvited guests. Let's just quickly run through a few of the big ones. First on the list, and it's a major one, is lead. This stuff can actually leach out of old pipes and water lines, and it's a really serious health risk, particularly for kids. Next, we've got microplastics. You hear about these all the time. These tiny little bits of plastic are showing up pretty much everywhere. And yep, that includes our drinking water. We're still figuring out what the long-term effects are. And rounding out our list, PFAS. You might have heard these called forever chemicals, and that's because they just don't break down. They're used in tons of everyday products, and you guessed it, they can end up in our water. Look, this isn't just us being paranoid. The CDC itself says that exposure to these kinds of chemicals, we're talking lead, chlorine byproducts, microplastics, can lead to some really serious stuff. Gastrointestinal illness, reproductive problems, even neurological damage. So the bottom line is pretty clear, getting a handle on your water quality is absolutely crucial for your health. Okay, so what's the solution when you're renting and can't make big changes? Well, according to the source material we're looking at, there's basically a checklist. Think of it as the secret code to finding the absolute perfect filter for an apartment. All right, for a filter to really work for a renter, it has to check some very specific boxes. Number one, and this is huge, absolutely no plumbing mods. That's a total non-starter, right? It's also got to be compact, and its performance needs to be certified. We're talking legit third-party certification. Of course, it has to filter a bunch of different contaminants, but here's the kicker. It should also hold on to the good stuff, like healthy minerals, and ideally, no electricity and no wasted water. Oh, and you see that point about releasing undissolved gases? We're definitely going to come back to that one. It's way more important than you'd think. And I really want to double down on that certification point. This isn't just some sticker they slap on the box for marketing. The EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, they're the ones who advise you to look for these specific NSF/ANSI standards. This is the real deal, the official benchmark that tells you a filter actually does what it says it does. So with our ideal checklist in hand, let's take a look at the usual suspects. You know, the common filters you see everywhere. Let's think of this as a little elimination round. Which of these can actually stand up to all the demands of a renter? When you look at the common options, you immediately start to see the trade-offs. Okay, faucet-mounted filters, super easy to install, but they can be kind of bulky, slow down your water flow, and hey, they might not even fit your faucet. Countertop filters, they work, but goodbye precious counter space. We all know about pitcher filters, they're everywhere, but they're slow, you're always refilling them, and a lot of them aren't even tested for those newer contaminants. Then you've got the heavy hitters, the portable reverse osmosis systems. They're great at removing stuff, but they waste a ton of water, and they strip out everything, including the good minerals like magnesium that your body actually needs. So what's the verdict on all these? Well, they're okay. They're better than nothing for sure, but really, they're more of a temporary fix, not a real long-term solution for your health. A lot of them solve one problem, but create a new one, or they just don't give you that comprehensive protection you're probably after. So, if all those common filters don't quite make the cut, what does? What's the article's top pick? Let's meet the champion. The one they say actually checks every single box on our ideal renter's checklist. Okay, here it is. The recommendation is an under-sink filter called the TipaTech Lotus DY. And the key thing to get here is that this was literally designed with renters in mind. We're talking maximum performance in a tiny space, with zero plumbing alterations, zero power needed, and zero drainage or water waste. And here's a big reason why it's so powerful. Check out this number, 0.007. That's the filtration size in microns. To give you some perspective, that is so incredibly small that it can reduce not just heavy metals and microplastics, but even bacteria. That is a whole different league of filtration compared to your average water pitcher. Okay, remember earlier I said we'd come back to that checklist item about undissolved gases? Well, here's the payoff. This system is apparently the only one that actively releases gases like chlorine vapor and radon before the water even hits your glass. Now, why is that such a big deal? Well, think about it. In a smaller apartment, when you're running hot water for a shower or doing dishes, you can actually breathe that stuff in. So getting it out of the water first is a massive win for your air quality and your lungs. So let's run this thing against our checklist one more time. Is it certified? Yep, IAPMO certified, which is compliant with those NSF standards. Does it preserve healthy minerals? You bet. Does it need electricity or create water waste? Nope and nope. And the big one for renters? Can you easily take it with you when you move? Absolutely. It nails every single point. All right, this is all great info, but what are the actual next steps? How do you put this into action? The source boils it down to a couple of really smart, simple final steps to take control of your water. It really just comes down to two things. First, whatever filter you end up considering, always verify the certifications. Don't just trust the box. Look for the official listings online from places like NSF or IAPMO. And second, even though a system like this one doesn't make any permanent changes, it's always a good idea and good form to get your landlords okay. And to make that conversation with your landlord super easy, here are the exact talking points you can use. You can tell them it's compact and 100% reversible. It's totally non-invasive, so there's zero risk of damage to the pipes. You can even mention that it can help protect their plumbing from corrosion. And of course, the closer, you'll take it with you when you move out. It really is a win-win for everyone. And really, this is what it all boils down to. Because clean water shouldn't depend on your zip code or your lease. The big takeaway here is that you don't have to choose between renting and having healthy water. With the right know-how and the right tools, you absolutely have the power to make sure every single glass of water you drink is as clean and safe as it can possibly be.